September is coming up quick and has got a hell of a lineup of games. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanx, the top 10 new games coming out in September 2019. Coming in at number 10, Daemon X Machina, which is a new mech game for the Nintendo Switch that, frankly, I've been looking forward to ever since I heard of. So the setup for this game is a moon collided with the planet, and the radiation it emitted turned artificial intelligence against humans. As far as I'm concerned, that's just a fine setup for a mech game. Basically, we're looking at a highly stylized, high-energy, large-scale mech combat game that I think leans a lot on the sort of Japanese anime conception of how mechs work rather than like the mech commander / mech warrior Battletech universe type stuff, and I'm okay with that. I like both. It also looks pretty cool in that you'll be able to actually sever pieces of an enemy mech and use them against that enemy mech. But probably the most interesting part is the fact that it's a 4-player co-op game, and I'm really looking forward to jumping into some mechs and causing some havoc with some friends. Daemon X Machina is coming exclusively to Switch on the 13th. Coming in at number 9, Pro Evolution Soccer 2020, the 19th installment of the game. They've added eFootball to the title. It doesn't matter to me, it's Pro Evolution Soccer 2020 in my mind. And I'm sure that a lot of people will agree. But the reason for this is that it's definitely shifting its focus towards the PES League and eFootball Pro tournaments. As per usual, it looks really good. It runs on the Fox engine. That's not new to the series, but we do see some new teams, as well as a new mode called Match Day Mode, which essentially is Konami choosing an important match game each week, and you'll be able to pick which team you're representing in it. It honestly seems like some intriguing developments in the series. eFootball Pro Evolution Soccer 2020, a whirl when it hits Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on the 10th. Moving on to number 8, it's Code Vein, which is an action RPG that, at first glance, has at least some stuff in common with Dark Souls. The type of gameplay we see is very Dark Souls-ish. It's published by Bandai Namco, and developers have cited Dark Souls as a source of inspiration. Now, it takes place in a very different world, however, and of course, has quite a different style in that it is very anime-oriented. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic vampire dystopia, which I'm perfectly fine with. I know we've had a million dystopia games, but I mean, maybe that's indicative of something in real life and not necessarily a problem of them making a lot of dystopia games. I'm happy to see a vampire one. That is an anime one too. They've been pretty light on talking on what the game is actually about, but they've been pretty heavy on showing off the combat and gameplay, which looks to me like it's going to be actually very enjoyable. So considering Dark Souls, that's basically the reason you'd come to this kind of game anyways, and it seems like it's probably going to deliver. I'll definitely be trying out Code Vein when it hits Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on the 27th. Moving on to number 7, NBA 2K20 is hitting in September. Obviously, it features updated rosters and as well as the new version of their franchise league mode called MyGM2. They've talked a lot about it being a revamp. Obviously, the game, as per usual, looks amazing, and of course will also give us the kind of gameplay we've come to expect from the series. I actually hope that it's not a massive departure from what we've seen in the past, and I'm more interested in seeing the ancillary things they develop, but I'm not really thinking it's going to be. It's NBA 2K20, and it's hitting PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on September 5th. Moving on to number 6, we're going to see FIFA 20 this month, and with FIFA we actually know quite a bit about the types of changes they're bringing to it. First, they've really beefed up career mode, which in previous releases hasn't really been a big deal, but apparently they're taking a bit of a page out of the Journeys playbook and moving on to actually try to include choices and skill development that actually affects the future of players and teams. But I'll tell you what I'm kind of most excited for. Street football is back in the game. Way back in 2005, there's a game called FIFA Street, which they made a few sequels to as time went on, but kind of dropped it after FIFA Street in 2012. This is now a mode that seems to basically just be that game within FIFA 20, and that makes me really happy because I like FIFA Street. And from what I understand, the game also is attempting to add a little weight into the pace of the game, which I find interesting, but until I'm actually able to play it, I'm not sure exactly what to say about that. I am looking forward to it, and I certainly will play it when it hits Windows, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and iOS on the 29th. And coming in at number 5, it's GreedFall. Now this is a very different looking game to me, which is about an island that's discovered and colonized while the native elves defend themselves. It's kind of high fantasy, 17th century colonialism, which is not something you see very often. What's interesting is on top of the combat and stealth that the game talks about, it also adds in the idea of diplomacy, which hopefully is somewhat deep. On account what this game is about is more or less a possible genocide, because you can align yourself with either the colonists or the elves, and from the sounds of it, it seems like you have some degree of control over what you end up doing. If it functions as a historical allegory to anything that's actually happened in the real world, it's got some pretty dark areas it could go to, but that also sounds very much like the stakes will be very high. In the video game world, that's what we call an actually good premise for a game. So a big congratulations to the developers Spiders. You've come up with one damn intriguing concept for a game, and I really can't wait to see exactly how well it's pulled off. GreedFall is hitting Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on the 10th. Moving on to number 4, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening has been remade for the Switch, and I couldn't be happier about this. From the art style they've chosen, which doesn't depart too far from what we've seen from Legend of Zelda, it is still slightly new and yet reminiscent of the times past in this absolutely landmark series and title within it. Link's Awakening has always been kind of a hidden gem of the series. It takes the gameplay as it was developed for the Super Nintendo iteration, Link to the Past, and plops Link into a new situation, a dream world. Now, if you've ever played the original game, it's phenomenal, and this remake looks amazing. It brings so much of stuff that I remember pretty distinctly into a fully realized 3D world that just oozes with personality, and I cannot wait to sit down and play this game. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening is coming to the Switch on September 20th. Moving on to number 3, The Surge 2 is hitting. Now, if you played the original Surge, it's kind of like Techno Dark Souls. Obviously, there's more to it than that, but I'll just go ahead and say that I rather enjoyed the original Surge, and I'm rather enjoying the design philosophy that they profess to going into the sequel, i.e. much bigger. The developers talked about wanting to add a lot more verticality to the Surge 2, and I like the sound of that because it's something that would set it even further apart from Dark Souls, even though obviously as a start point that's not a bad thing at all. Apparently the Surge 2 will be offering the player a lot more alternate paths, which ultimately will lead to a lot more variance in what you see in the game. Again, they've touted bigger and much more diverse environments for the Surge 2, which I think is great because the Surge 1 really didn't have a lack of that. I wouldn't really say the Surge had any distinct lack of anything. It was a pretty damn good game, so bigger and better, I'm there. The Surge 2 is hitting Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on the 24th. Moving on to number 2, Gears 5 is coming up, where we'll continue the story of Kate Diaz and of course JD Phoenix, with John DiMaggio coming back as Marcus Phoenix. The devs talked about Gears of War 4 very much as if it was an analog for Mad Max Fury Road, in which the story mainly concerns Kate Diaz and JD Phoenix was there in Mad Max's capacity, and this in a lot of ways just continues on that path. While we certainly haven't gotten a Mad Max sequel yet, it's nice to know somebody's kind of thinking about how this kind of dynamic might continue. Also, let's be totally real here, it's another Gears of War game. Gears of War has never really steered us too wrong, and I just think that this is an interesting turn for it. I hope that my instincts are right about that. We'll see. Gears 5 is coming to PC and Xbox One on the 10th. And finally coming in at number 1, it's Borderlands 3. Oh, Borderlands 3, we've waited for you. The extremely stylized, weird, satirical loot shooter makes its return after 2012's Borderlands 2 has more or less garnered quite a fond reputation. Notwithstanding Randy Pitchford's fights with various voice actors on Twitter, in all honesty, the game does look like it's going to be a good upgrade to Borderlands, as we're going to be seeing plenty more planets besides Pandora, as apparently vaults now exist on other planets. That's good stuff. Borderlands' story has never really been its strength, but its characters and humor always have, we're going to be seeing plenty of that when Borderlands 3 hits PC, PS4, and Xbox One on September 13th. As a quick bonus for you, Monster Hunter World's Iceborne expansion is hitting this month. This stuff takes place after the main story of Monster Hunter. You have to get HR 16. If you're not HR 16, you can't play the expansion. You can buy the expansion, but you're gonna have to beat the game. More or less, it's just more Monster Hunter World, and you get to go trudge around in some ice. So get some ice-resistant gear and get ready. I'm sure this is gonna be good. Monster Hunter World's Iceborne expansion is coming to PS4 and Xbox One September 6th. Contra Rogue Core. It's a twin-stick shooter. It's third person. It's not strictly isometric or anything like that, which is nice because it's definitely nice to see more twin-stick games giving you a little bit more view of the action. That being said, it does look very, very, very over the top. It's an alien invasion game. You're tasked with taking the aliens down, and that could be really good or really bad. We will see. What are you going to play this month? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. So click subscribe and don't forget to click the notification bell. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.